Hi, welcome to Thriving from Anxiety. My name is Sherianna Boyle. I'm here with my co-host Cindy Horgan. And as always, our plan is to provide you with some really great conversation. We hope to laugh a little bit, to lighten things up. And finally, we'll always leave you with some tips and tools for ways to not only cope with stress and anxiety, but also how do you thrive from it. Today, our topic is about gift-focused living, and how this topic came to be was from this book, The 4 Gifts of Anxiety, which came out in December 2014. And I also have been developing, hi Cindy.
Hi Sheri.
Gift-focused classes in the community, and the gift-focused classes are, once again, based on the 4 gifts of anxiety. So I thought, hey, why not talk about gift-focused living on the show? Because I have received many, many gifts from my experience of the symptoms of anxiety, but I know you have received many gifts as well, and it came differently for you. So I thought we could begin by describing what do we mean by gift-focused living, how do you define it, and then go from there. So why don't you begin?
Oh, thank you. When I think of gift-focused living, and I was so delighted by just that expression, because I think we receive so many, and it's about being aware and where they came from, where their origin is. But when I think of it, I think of those aha moments. And when I say an aha moment, it becomes my gift when I make sense of me and that feeling. I think if you wanted me to give you an example, I mean, there's so many of them, but one of them, I think when I think of myself as a learner, okay? And when I think about the gift of that sort of focused living, what for many, many years, you know, I struggled with not knowing the answer. So when it was time to be in a learning experience, and I would hear things from the old school of teaching, you should know this.
Right.
And immediately when someone would ask a question, what failed me for most of my learning years was I didn't know I could say I don't know the answer.
Right.
And I would be in this blanket of anxiety, and the way that it responded to the world was I would just shut down.
Right.
And so when I started to make sense with not knowing the answer was not a deficit, it was a need that I had to fulfill. So my gift of it was, no, I don't know the answer, and having courage. So my gift of being sort of lost in this blanket, truly a blanket of anxiety, became the courage to say, that isn't clear to me. Can you explain it? And then I became a learner by that process. But when I tell you paralyzing anxiety that I may be called on,
interesting,
that someone might ask me, and there was this little thing that said, you have to know the answer. And then I realized that really learning is about finding the answer, not knowing it.
Exactly. And really what you're pointing out, Cindy, is the gift of language. And I think that's something that I worked really hard on when I created this book, was really thinking about the language. And I know that's something you work hard on too when it comes to communicating, because like you said, there's words that can really shut down the process of receiving your gifts, and one of them is should.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Or the phrases of what if, right? Or the fear of making mistakes. So you bring up a good point. There is, in gift-focused living, it is really about how you see it. And then from shifting how you see things, then you can begin to change your language a little bit. And it does take time, because we've been trained for so long, and it takes time to hear yourself, just be aware enough to pause and say, oh, I just said the word should, right? Which, by the way, makes us feel guilty, right? I've learned that should just kind of makes us feel kind of yucky, and kind of flip it into I choose, right? The words I choose. And that's one of the things that I talk about in the book, is the words I choose I choose to have this experience. I choose to feel this emotion. And that's so much about what gift-focused living is about, knowing that we have choices. Yeah. And I really, honestly, after writing the book, I don't even really believe in mistakes anymore, Sim.
You know how I feel about that?
I really don't.
I think that, honestly, if I could instill anything in my children and in those that I journey with, it would be that our mistakes are our guides.
Absolutely.
And that they're not about brokenness, they're what guides us.
Absolutely.
And in every aspect of every relationship, whether it be a coworker, whether it be within the intimacy of my marriage,
right.
Especially when it comes to my role as a mother.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious. You know, and that's exactly, you know what, my mistakes became my grace.
Oh, I love that.
And that really is what it was. And now as I am, you know, at that place with children that are adults,
right.
Those moments are just so, you know, fulfilling. I fill my soul is the best way to say it.
Right. I don't believe in mistakes either. I believe in choices. Mm-hmm. That's my focus now, and I believe that is a big part of gift-focused living is knowing that choice is one of your greatest tools. It's one of, I refer to it as a power tool. Right?
Yeah.
You always have a choice, no matter what. No matter what. If the choice might be to just breathe, mm-hmm. but you always have a choice. And
you know, to me, the choice is the energy. And so when I think sometimes, you know, to me, that energy, and some of the times the choice is to not engage. We live in a world that we are spending lots of money on media around drama.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen so much drama?
No,
honestly, it melts my brain. And and my mantra is choose not to engage. I am choosing not to engage.
Mantra. And that is a part of gift-focused living, right? Developing mantras and learning how to use them, learning to practice them. So say that again. What's your mantra?
Choose not to engage. When it's taken a road on its own,
right?
It is all about the drama.
Yes.
Choose not to engage.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Sid, because so many of us are under so much pressure now. And the fact that you brought that up, I actually brought a little piece of research today. I'm actually writing another book.
Of course you are.
And
so proud of you.
And so I'm in research mode, and this book is full of research, current research. And what this piece of research that I brought with me, it talks about, it says even the observation of stressed strangers via video transmission was enough to put people in red alert. In our stress-ridden society, empathetic stress is a phenomena that we should not ignore in our health care system. So I wanted to show that or talk about that with our viewers.
Well, I'd like to chat about it myself. I have to remind myself it is a fictional television show.
Right, even the observation can put you in red alert. So we have to choose not to engage, and that is a form of a gift-focused life. And because when we engage, what I find, because gift-focused living to me means living in the flow, right?
Yep.
To live in the flow, you have to be in the moment. There's no other way. And the moment you start engaging in something, right, then you can almost feel, like you said, the energy it gets jaded, right? It becomes narrow, and you no longer are. You're using just a little bit of your senses. They're showing now that when our brain is they're referring it to as an idle state, or when our brain is in a resting state. Some of the technology that we have now, we can actually see that the brain is more active in a resting state. So think of neuroactivity light show happening in the brain.
I get it happening.
Then when we are busy and thinking. And so many of us have been trained to think, oh, I've got so much to do, I've got so much on my list, and I'm here and I'm there, and you wouldn't believe all the things that I did today. And you would think that your brain was just like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. But what they're showing now, it's the opposite, that you're using less neuroactivity in the brain when you're distracted.
And it's all in here then.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yet when we're pausing and taking a moment to breathe, our brains are actually firing and wiring like crazy. We're getting more information. We increase our ability to problem solve. We increase our memory. We increase the aha moments. And
I love those.
And that's where the gifts are. I mean, they really are in that aha moment. And I call that moment vibration. When you tune into your vibration.
And you know, the way that this is sort of my mantra, you choose not to engage or to engage. The other language for that is boundaries. So you come to me and all of your, you know, big stuff happening here, and it's got a level of energy that is almost overwhelming to me.
Yes.
So my ability to choose to not engage is to say, you're in a certain space right now. This is what I'm capable of helping with.
Yes.
This is what I'm capable of giving.
Right.
But I can't take on your whole package.
Right.
And what I don't do is fail you. What I do, hopefully in that energy and that vibration, is bring you down to this thing called perspective.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would take it a step further. So in the gift focused living class that I've created, I would ask you, well, what do you do with that? I mean, once you kind of walk into a situation and you can feel that you need to set a boundary. Knowing that you have to set a boundary can be stressful, right?
Yes.
And the act of setting a boundary definitely is a gift-focused living. But how do you handle the stress that came up with that, right? So at some point, for me, gift-focused living is learning how to release things, right? How do you release those moments so that they don't get all clogged up in the body and the brain? And I mean, we get so cluttered in our brains, we get clogged up in our body. Now it's showing that leads to inflammation. It can lead to back pain, you know, pain in the body. So there's an element of really learning how to release your day and how to begin your day, which I know that you have some rituals, and I know you're a huge fan of rituals.
I think that is such a key part of it, the rituals, that you can't just do this when you feel your heart rate off the charts.
Right, right.
It has to be the way that it's kind of like brushing your teeth. You do it several times a day.
Exactly.
And we
and maybe more.
And maybe more, yeah. Right. And that we do it in a very natural way, that when I don't do it is when I really feel the impact of not.
Right.
You know, because I'm so broken.
Right.
And that's the best way to put it into perspective.
Right.
So when I think about it, it's about those, how do I do those rituals so that it isn't about me waving a flag, look at everybody, I'm in my moment here, I'm going to engage in me, but that more than anything, people recognize that I take that, I model it. I model it to my children. You know, I'm up early, I'm embracing it. Sometimes I even have to tweak it still after all these years of doing it. You know, I went for many, many years in my outdoor time of never plugging into anything, ever.
Yeah.
And then I found about those little iPad pod things there, and I thought, I can do this, and I can kind of be running to the music. And I really enjoyed it. And then I found myself missing me.
Wow.
And so I'm like, all done with that.
Interesting.
And I needed to get back to me on my outdoor time.
And the fact that you recognized that is key.
Missing.
That there was, it didn't serve you in the way that it had served you maybe in the beginning.
Exactly.
I think you point out a great point, Sin, in that gift-focused living is not about doing, and that's what I talk about in the book. It's about learning how to be, right? Yeah. So from doing to being, and sometimes we get caught up in thinking, geez, you know, I'm not doing anything, and so many people come to me and come to these classes that I teach because they feel like they just don't have a sense of purpose. They feel I haven't really found my thing yet. You know, I get a lot of that. And what the book points out is that when you allow yourself to move through these symptoms, emotions, physiological responses, whatever you want to call them, then part of what you do receive is your gifts, and one of the gifts is your sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I'll share with you, recently one of my children is at a turning point in her career. And she just finished a really intense part of her education. And now her job was to find a job. So the applications went out, and there was a piece of her that was so trying to find purpose, And so interviews were coming in, and some of them were really great opportunities that kind of connected with the job, the work that she had done, and some of them were really almost a step back. And she'd call pretty frequently just to check in with me, and I think I should grab this. I think I should say, what if in all of this? And I said, please, I said, you need to breathe.
Right.
I said, you've done a wonderful job of preparing, and you're going to end up where you're supposed to. I said, but right now you need to breathe. And more than anything, I needed to talk her away from pulling the trigger.
Right.
From jumping. And I said, I want you to think about it. And so I was able to use sort of vision at that point to say, let's talk about the quality and what is your passion here.
Right.
And what I did, I didn't fix her.
Right.
I helped her breathe.
Right.
I helped her say, let's not pull the trigger on this.
Right.
Let's wait, and you'll end up where you're supposed to be. And I really believe that.
Right.
Because it's not that you just magically happen there.
Right.
It's because you allow your energy to bring you there.
Exactly. It becomes a match.
Yeah.
Right. And I talk about in the book that gift-focused living is really, rather than finding your purpose, it's learning how to live on purpose and knowing that every situation serves you. So even her not knowing, right, that space of unknown, it does serve us. And sometimes there's a lot to learn there, right? And in the book, I talk about how to access your gifts. First, I talk about what the symptoms might be trying to tell you. And so in your daughter's case, her fear of the future, right, may be an indication that she hasn't fully processed the feelings of uncertainty. Right? That maybe she just needs to, again, take a moment and sit with that emotion of uncertainty and allow it to move through her body. And I talk about how to do that because it's not always what we think we do. What we tend to do is we tend to try techniques when we feel down and empty.
Right.
And in the book, I give an example of that the first thing you do is not to try to get rid of something when you're feeling down and empty. You actually have to raise your vibration.
Yes. Because
the body just works better that way. So those are some of the tools that I want people to know that are available when they read about gift-focused living.
And there's so many pieces to this that I'm so excited for the world to be a part of.
Yeah.
You know, we've had, depending on when you're watching us right now, we had a lot of snow this year.
Yes.
Now, I personally love it very much, but I know for many people, its toll is significant. It's been difficult to sort of move.
Well, just not seeing the sun.
Not seeing in those pieces there, but how important it is that, you know, people all of a sudden started to think there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And how important it was to sort of find perspective. And even from this same child, you know, she's like, really feeling like really out of sorts. And I'm like, talk about moving, talking about breathing, talking about, it was just, and it was really sharing this part of her journey with her.
Right.
You know, it wasn't my job to fix her. It was my job to kind of walk with her.
Right.
And by my breathing and by my tone, and that was really critical.
Tone.
Is my tone.
Yes.
Wasn't like, well, you better look for something. Those loans are going to be coming in. It was about, let's put this in perspective.
In perspective.
And with that tone, putting it in perspective.
I once, oh gosh, I'm probably going to misquote, but I once heard a quote about a miracle is simply a change in perspective, which I love. So
if it wasn't real, I like it. You can keep it.
it's time for our tips and tools,
Oh, wonderful.
Cindy. And so why don't you begin on what would you like to offer for this week in regards to gift-focused living? Any tips on that?
I think that my greatest tip would be, we so quickly, we jump, we react.
Yes.
And, I have another saying that I said, if it's not a 911 moment, and there are 911 moments.
Absolutely.
Every moment has the capacity for us to step back for a moment, breathe, recognize what's here, and where's it guiding me to.
Yeah. I love that.
Taking the moment, unless it's 911, everything has a moment.
Right. I love that. I think for my tip this week is remembering, at least this is what helps me, and this is what I talk about in the book, that we are a spiritual being. I mean, we are human beings, but we are spiritual beings, and we're bigger than everything. Sometimes it feels like the world is bigger than us, but we have to remember that one of my favorite mantras is, I'm bigger than this. I'm bigger than this. And so I share that with our audience today. Remember, I'm bigger than this. Right.
Oh, I like that. And going from tip to mantra, I think one of the ones that is sort of resonating with me in this last few weeks is I am enough. And recognizing that I am enough, and I'm only what I can be in this moment.
Right.
And
very powerful.
Yeah, we this conversation for you and I around anxiety, and I'm so grateful that you and I together see the gifts of this. So many of us feel broken, and we don't need to be broken. We need to be aware.
Right.
And so that's how we say good night and be well.
Be well, everybody.
To everyone that journeys with us. Thank you.